So in order to connect to backend server for consumption of OData services, from Web ID tool, we have to connect to backend server. For that reason, we require host file configuration as well as service destination configuration. Both are required in local setup. And step 5 is you can start your SAP Fiori development. We can start our SAP Fiori app development. That is step 5, which we'll be doing from tomorrow onwards. Okay, so let me just give some basic difference between Bash tool and Web ID tool in terms of installation or setup procedure. Let me make it like Web ID tool left side and SAP Bash tool right side. Let me give one simple comparison. So here, it's like local setup. We're trying to compare with SAP Bash tool. Bash tool supports only one setup, that is cloud-based setup. There is no local setup for SAP Bash tool. Please remember that. They may ask you a question like in interviews, they may ask you, can we install Bash tool locally? That's not possible at the present situation because it is not supported. It's always cloud-based. So in terms of setup, here you can see, as I told you, SAP Web ID local setup, first it requires installation of JDK. And after that, it requires installation of SAP Web ID tool. And then we need to create an account. First time we have to create an account for SAP Web ID tool. After creating an account, first time you need to configure some settings. And as I told you, this is to establish connection. With backend, or in simple words, this is to connect to backend. What type of settings? As I told you, here you need to configure host file and you need to configure service destination file. And if everything is done, especially in terms of configuration, then we can start with SAP Fiori app development here. So this is a basic procedure for installing SAP Web ID in a local system. So first JDK, then Web ID. After that, create an account, configure settings, and then you're ready for Fiori development. Very simple. We can develop Fiori apps, end-to-end apps, consumption of OData services, perform database operations, all activities we can do it. But in terms of SAP Bash tool, first you need to install JDK here also, because we require cloud connector. For cloud connector, we need to install JDK in our local system. Bash tool internally uses SAP Cloud Connector, and the Cloud Connector software internally requires JDK. So JDK is anyhow required. Then we need to create an account here in SAP BTP, Business Technology Platform. That is nothing but cloud platform. we have to create an account in cloud platform, which is nothing but SAP BTP, that is Business Technology Platform. After creating an account, you need to create one sub account in SAP BTP. That is, we need to create sub account in cloud platform. First account, then sub account. Then we need to enable subscription. Okay, we can enable subscription of SAP BAS tool. SAP BTP provides one of the service as SAP BAS tool. So that service you need to subscribe. Enable subscription for SAP BAS tool, which is part of BTP platform, that is cloud platform. Then you need to assign some roles. Assign roles in SAP BTP. Developer roles, configuration roles, administration roles. So those type of roles we need to assign for a user in BTP, that is in cloud platform. Roles means developer role, configurator role, administrator role. So those type of roles. We are going to do it in the coming days. That has to be done in cloud platform, that is BTP. And in your local system, you can install SAP Cloud Connector here. In your local system, you need to install SAP Cloud Connector. It is going to establish connection with on-premise server and your BAS tool. After installing Cloud Connector, we need to configure virtual host for SAP backend server. Here, after installing Cloud Connector, inside Cloud Connector, we need to configure virtual host for backend server. Then you need to configure service destination. In SAP BTP, that is in cloud platform, you need to configure service destination. First, create virtual host inside Cloud Connector. After that, create service destination file in SAP Cloud Platform. Then you can create one dev space, that is development space for SAP Fiori development. What type of applications you want to create? For that, you need to select and create a dev space for that Fiori development. In case if you want to develop Fiori apps. Dev space is development workspace. We call it as dev space, which is technically development workspace for developing Fiori apps. So when you create a dev space for Fiori, the framework, the plugins related to Fiori, all those things will be enabled inside that dev space. Libraries, various libraries for Fiori development, various plugins for Fiori development. So those things will be by default included when you create a dev space here. And after that, now you can start your SAP Fiori app development. Inside BAS tool, you can start your Fiori app development after the creation of dev space. So that's a basic procedure you need to follow if you are using BAS tool. Finally, in both the tools, you can develop Fiori apps. But in terms of installation or setup wise, this is for local web ID and this is for cloud BAS tool. So procedure wise, this is a difference. So in today's class, we'll focus on the left side part. After developing the applications, after understanding all the concepts in BAS in web ID tool, we are going to shift our focus to BAS tool. Whatever concepts topics we have discussed in WebID, that will be redesigning everything in Bash tool also in the coming days. So as of now, let me save this procedure. This is just a difference between WebID tool versus Cloud SAP Bash tool. Very simple. As of now, just remember this. Now what I'll do is I'll explain some basic difference here in terms of terminology. SAP WebID tool supports two types of setup here. One is SAP WebID with local setup. Second one is SAP WebID with cloud setup. SAP WebID with cloud setup is nothing but SAP Bash tool with cloud setup internally. Okay, just remember that. Okay, but let me write it separately. SAP Bash tool, it supports only one type of setup here. That is SAP Bash tool with cloud setup. That's only supported. As of now, there is no local setup for Bash tool. Please remember why I'm focusing, because in interview, they may ask you whether we can install Bash tool locally or not. It's not possible at this moment. It is always possible only through cloud setup. But internally, this is SAP WebID with cloud setup. SAP Bash tool is with cloud setup, but that is internally like SAP WebID with cloud setup. So here, what SAP has done is they have renamed several things. Let me just focus on that as well. There is old terminology versus new terminology here. So earlier we used to call SAP Cloud Platform. But now that is renamed as SAP BTP, that is Business Technology Platform. Better to have knowledge on this terminology as well. So earlier it is SAP Cloud Platform. Now it is renamed to SAP Business Technology Platform, that is BTP. And SAP WebID with cloud setup. That is technically SAP Business Applications tool, Business Application Studio. That is Bash tool with the cloud here. That means technically with BTP, we call it as. SAP WebID with cloud is nothing but SAP Bash tool with BTP environment. That is Business Technology Platform, which is internal cloud platform. SAP Fiori templates. SAP Fiori templates, that is renamed to SAP Fiori floor plans. When you work on Bash tool, instead of template, you will find like floor plan, but both are same. SAP Fiori templates are nothing but SAP Fiori floor plans here. So developer point of view, you need not worry too much here. It's very simple. SAP Fiori developer point of view, 99% of code, syntax, procedure in terms of development, architecture in terms of development, scene elements, everything is same across both the tools. So developer need not panic here. whether it is cloud setup or local setup, whether it is web ID or SAP batch tool, it doesn't matter. For Fiori developer point of view, 99% of the code, the syntax, procedure, architecture, the screen elements, everything is same across both the tools. So there may be some change in terms of the installation procedure wise, but developer point of view, coding, syntax, screen elements, screen development, the files, everything is same. We are going to experience that to justify this point. Now let us go back to this one. First, let me go with web ID. Let us discuss this in detail here. So detail procedure for SAP web ID. So step one, as I said, we are going to install JDK, but how to do that and which version is suitable? Let me just explain that. Install JDK software, that is, I'll try to provide one link. Just you can directly go to that link. Open below link. Install JDK. I'll give one final link here. So here you can see there is a .exe file with JDK8, 64-bit operating system, JDK8 for Windows, it's .exe file. So you have to download this particular file from this particular link. Let me copy that link. To install JDK, directly go to this below link. Don't search in Google, you'll get different versions, different options. It's directly go to this link in your case. And here, you can select this Windows 64-bit JDK8. If JDK8 is not working, then you can try with JDK7. Some machines may not support. So in that case, you can install 7 or you can install 9. So that is how you can go for a trial and error approach. But JDK8 generally should work. Let me do this screenshot here. This is a link. And this is the option you can download. Let me write a simple note here. Download JDK from this link. And that is provided here, the hyperlink for that JDK. Okay, let me save this. So go to this, and what you do is just click on Windows 64-bit JDK related .exe file. For JDK, you'll get exe file. For web ID, you'll get one zip file. First, let us focus on JDK. You'll get exe file. And here, when I select this, you can see it is trying to pop up. Just select accept and review option. There is a checkbox here. Just select that and click on download. Very simple. Just select that checkbox and click on download. So here you can see this. When you click on download option, then it will redirect to Oracle login screen. You can see this. It will redirect to Oracle login screen here. What you do is you can create your own account here. To download JDK, you can either create your own account or you can use existing account here. But generally, when you click on download, it will redirect to Oracle account login screen. Okay, what to do is you can provide for common purpose. If you want, you can use this or you can create your own account. This is just anyone can create here. If you want, you can use it in order to save some time. This is Oracle related. Anyone can use it if you want. Or else just create your own account. Create new account on your own if required. And then sign in. Okay, so assuming that we have created an account, here you can see there's a create account option for you. Just save this. It's automatically redirected. If you want, you can create an account here or you can use existing account. Just let me make it like okay, so you can use that. Right, so when you click on sign in, then you can see there is a pop-up and it is trying to download that jdk.exe file. You can see the progress bar here on browser. You can see that. It is 212 MB software. Within 1 minute, it will try to download. So that download is completed. Now you can open your downloads folder here. So you will get this. So that means after sign in, open your downloads folder in your system. Then just what you need to do, very simple, just double click on JDK related exe file. Just double click on JDK related .exe file. And just simply click next, 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 finish. Don't change any setting here. After doing that, just it is recommended to restart the system. So that is the end of step 1, installing JDK. Open your downloads folder, double click on JDK exe file, just click next, 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 finish and restart the system. So here, if I go to downloads folder, there is JDK exe file, just double click this. In my case, I'm not proceeding because it's already installed in my system. I don't want to disturb that. In your case, just double click and click next, next, finish. That's it. So go to your downloads folder and try to do this. Don't change any setting and don't change the configuration path and all those things. Don't change all those things. Just simply click next, next, finish. Restart the system. That's the end of installing JDK in your case. In my case, I'm not proceeding because it's already installed. Right, so let me just save this. That means we have completed this step 1. Now what is step 2? Step 2 is we have to install WebID tool software. After restarting your system, it's better go for step 2. Install WebID tool software. Okay, so let us focus on that. Install SAP WebID tool software. In local system, we have to do this. So for that reason, there are 2 ways of doing it. In one of the technique, you need not configure service destination file. In another technique, you have to configure service destination file. Okay, so first let me go with this. You can open below link. In one of the technique, I'll be providing Google Drive link. From there, you can download that software. So let me provide Google Drive link here. Let me give that link. So there is SAP WebID here. So from this, you can download this zip file and you can install according to the procedure. So you can get that link. From that link, you can download. Okay, so let me give that link. So here you can see this drive.google.com. So this is the link. You can use it in order to download SAP WebID tool in your system. But in real time, you have to follow different procedures slightly. So in real time, you can download SAP WebID tool from below website. The same software, but it will be available in SAP website. That is, let me open that. Let me save this. So in your case, you can download from this one. SAP WebID with a local setup. You can download this in your case. Zip file. Basically, that zip file we have to extract in the further steps. Okay, so SAP WebID from Google Drive. This is one of the options. That link is already provided. But what is the second option? In real time, what you can do is you can download same SAP WebID tool from below website. There is SAP website. From that also you can do it. So here you can see there is tools.hana.ondemand.com. You can see this. Tools.hana.ondemand.com. Under that, you can see there is SAP UI5. In SAP UI5, you can see SAP WebID, personal edition. It's a web-based tool. It enables you to create and extend your applications, UI5 or Fiori applications. So there is SAP WebID tool, personal edition here in SAP UI5 category. So in that you can see there is one option. For personal edition, you can use it. And in real-time production purpose, production use, that is productivity use, here you can download that. Windows 64-bit, there is 833 MB software here. Okay, what you do is, let me provide this link. So go to this link and select SAP UI5. This link is tools.hana.ondemand.com. This is official SAP website. From there, you can select SAP UI5 and just go to this personal edition here. And there is Windows 64-bit download option here. So you can download from this. Okay, let me write a note. This you can do it in real time. Download SAP Web ID tool from this link. So if you try to download Web ID from this link, SAP website, then you need to configure service destination on your own. You have to create service destination on your own. You have to maintain all connection properties of your backend server on your own, or you need to take the help of your administrator in real time. In this case, you need to create service destination file on your own, or you can take the help of administrator, but ultimately you have to maintain connection properties and maintain connection properties here. Service destination file contains connection properties of backend server. It can be ECC server or S4HANA, it all depends which server you want to connect. It all depends. So in real time, you follow this approach. Ultimately, you will get the same file. The only difference is service destination file has to be created on your own, and you have to maintain connection properties of your company server. For consumption of OData services, this is required. You have to do it explicitly. If you're trying to download Web ID from this particular link, let me just highlight this. If you're trying to download Web ID from this link, then you have to follow this procedure. Create service destination file and maintain connection properties. Now, if you download Web ID from Google Drive link, which I have provided, then you can avoid that service destination file, because service destination file is already available in that link, in Google Drive link. It is internally provided. It's pre-configured, I can say. It's already pre-configured by me for connecting to our backend SAP server. So you can avoid service destination file if you are trying to download Web ID from Google Drive link. If you're trying to download from SAP website, then you have to create service destination file separately with connection properties. So for real-time purpose, you can visit this particular link. Okay, directly let me provide this. In real time, download Web ID tool from below website, SAP website. This is the link. So two approaches, two techniques I'm providing here. One is real time, another is Google Drive for practice purpose. But ultimately, it contains the same software. The only thing is, in second technique, we are trying to maintain service destination. Explicitly, we have to do it. But in Google Drive link, it's not required. I've already pre-configured that service destination file. I've already maintained connection properties in that service destination file. If you're trying to download from here, I'm going to show that, then you can get more clarity. So in your case, it's better open Google Drive link, which is shared in above step. Then click on that latest SAP web ID and click on download. There will be two options, download anyway, just select that. Okay, so here, let me go back. So here you can see there is Google Drive link with latest SAP web ID. So what you can do is you can just simply download. When you download, you'll get this pop-up. Just click on download anyway. Don't worry about this. Just click on download anyway. Very simple. Then it will try to download that zip file. You can see here. You can see the progress bar. It's a zip file with almost approximately 260 MB software. Within 1 minute, you can download this. Okay, so download is completed. You can open your downloads folder now. Open that folder. So there is a zip file for latest SAP web ID local. You can see this. Okay, click on download anyway. Now, after download is completed, just open your downloads folder in your system. Then copy that zip file. Copy SAP web ID tool related zip file. There is no exe file. There is only zip file for this. So copy that web ID zip file and just go to C directory. To avoid problems, to avoid configuration problems, better do it under C directory. Go to C directory in your system. And what you do is just create one new folder here in C directory. For example, you can create a SAP web ID full folder, something like this. You can create with any name, it doesn't matter. For example, you can make it like web ID tool. So create one new folder in C directory. So you can copy this. Just simply copy this. After that, just go to C directory here. You can install in any directory, but to avoid configuration problems, installation problems, it's better to go to C directory. We can avoid many problems. In C directory, just create one folder like this. SAP web ID tool, create one folder. Just right click and create. After creating a folder, what you do is try to paste that file, paste that zip file here. Right click and paste that web ID zip file here. After pasting, you can right click and then click on extract here. Very simple. So what you need to do is create one folder. In that folder, paste this file. Let me just highlight, this is important. Go to C directory. In C directory, create one new folder. New or old, whatever. In that, what you do is paste this zip file. Paste SAP web ID zip file. After that, just right click, SAP web ID zip file, right click and just click on extract here. Click on extract here. That's it. So after the extraction is completed, some folders, files, subfolders, everything will be generated automatically. So here, let me add one more point. Right click this file and click on extract. You can see extract here because it's a zip file. When you extract, what happens? The folder, subfolders, and several subfolders and files internally will be generated when you click on extract option on zip file.
Hello.
If any doubt, you can ask me after the procedure.
Okay.
So here, let me just make it like this so that you can remember. It's like install SAP Web ID tool by extracting zip file. Very simple. Extraction itself is going to internally install Web ID. In this case, extracting zip file is nothing but we are installing Web ID by generating files and subfolders, etc. So we are trying to install Web ID just by simply extracting zip file here. That is a simple point you need to remember. Okay, so let me write that. Create one new folder in C directory. And what you do is paste SAP Web ID zip file. And right click. Just right click SAP Web ID zip file and click on extract here. Very simple. On extract here. That's the option. So what happens now? Let me write some simple notes here. On extraction of Web ID zip file, automatically files, folders, subfolders will be generated. On extraction of Web ID zip file, automatically files, folders, several subfolders will be generated. So what you need to do now, just open Eclipse folder because that is a folder that is internally generated. Now you need to open Eclipse folder here because that is auto-generated folder, which is one of the folder that is auto-generated. And what you do is just right click on Orion file. There is Orion.exe file. Then first time just send to desktop as a shortcut icon. That's it. So that's the end of step 2, installing Web ID. Now what you can see is after extracting this zip file, automatically Eclipse folder is generated. You can see that. When you right click and extract here, after the process is completed, you'll get one Eclipse folder here. Automatically you'll get that. Just open that folder. You can see several folders and subfolders are generated here. You can see this. You need not worry and you need not remember all these things, but the point here is on extracting Web ID local zip file, you are getting Eclipse folder automatically. Just open that Eclipse folder and then you can see there is Orion exe file here. Just right click this and send to desktop as a shortcut icon. This you have to do it for first time. Okay, let me just save the screen. Let me just save all these things. So here, C directory, and this is our folder. which we have created in our case. Inside that, after extracting zip file, you'll get Eclipse folder. In Eclipse folder, you'll get orient.exe file. Just right click that, send to desktop as a shortcut icon. That's it. So next time onwards, if you want to open WebID, first you need to start this orient file. If you want to connect to WebID, you have to start this orient file. This is a starter file, basically. So there is orient file, very important file. Just send to desktop as shortcut icon. Okay, let me save this. Create shortcut icon for orient file. Just remember that file name. That is a starter file that is going to internally start WebID. It will start WebID engine internally. Okay, so right click that orient file, send to desktop as shortcut icon. So that's the end of this particular step 2 here. Installing WebID tool. Now, after installing WebID tool, what you need to do is you have to create an account for WebID tool. That is step 3. We have to create an account for WebID tool. And next time onwards, you have to log in with that account when you want to develop the applications. So let us focus on step 3 here. Create an account for SAP WebID tool. How to do that? Just go to desktop now and double click on that file. Double click orient file. Orient.exe file. That's a shortcut icon which we have created in the previous step. Just do that and minimize orient file window. Orient file window. You'll get black screen window here. So go to desktop, double click on that orient.exe file shortcut icon and minimize orient file black screen window. So here you can see that. After creating shortcut icon, you'll get this orient file. Okay, you can see there is orient file here. So just double click that file. Now it will start this black screen window and it will load some text. Internally, it loads some plugins and all those things. This is just a default text. Don't worry about this. This is a black screen window. Just minimize this window. Okay, let me put it like this. Save this. So you can open orient file. And after opening this, what you do is just minimize. Don't close it. If you close it, you cannot connect to WebID. What you do is just minimize this window. After closing, if you want to connect to WebID, it won't connect because orient file is a engine which will internally start WebID. So to minimize black screen window. So that means WebID is internally started. WebID engine is internally started. That is what you can assume here. Start and minimize. Start and minimize orient file window. So that's what you need to do. So this should be up and running. This black screen window should be up and running whenever you want to make use of Web ID tool for developing the apps. So after this, let me minimize. If you want, you can close it and you can restart if you want. That you can do it at any point of time. So just double click and minimize. Then the next step is very simple. Open browser. Google Chrome is recommended, but you can use any browser. Google Chrome is recommended, but it supports all browsers. So what you do is open the browser and use below link to connect it to SAP Web ID tool. So let me open Google Chrome. In Google Chrome, here you can use localhost 8080, this one. Localhost 8080, and you can see something like webid/index.html. Localhost :8080/webid/index.html. You can see this. So this is going to start Web ID. Okay, so let me press enter. Let me copy that link. Localhost. So let me copy this link. This is the initial link. So the default port number is 8080. In interviews also they may ask you what's the default port number for local Web ID. So default port number is 8080 here. Can we change it? Yes, we can change it. But default is 8080. Everything is important. When you attend interview, this is a very common question you can expect. Default port number for local Web ID. Is it possible to change the port number? Yes, it is possible. So all this type of things you can expect. Let me log in. So here you can see there is an option to create a new account first time. If the account is already available, you can sign in. If the account is not available, then you have to create that new account. Sign in option if you want to log in with existing account. If there is no account, first time create a new account. Okay, so let me take this screen. Create new account. And here you have to provide all these details. Provide username, password, email ID, and just click on sign up. That's it. So here, okay, so here you can see create new account. First time you have to create your account. And then you'll get these details. You can sign up. Let me put it. Same screen. So provide that. Basically here you need to use this and press enter the URL. What you do is it's better use this. HTTP localhost 8080/webid/index.html. Press enter. Then you can create an account. Create an account, and that account details you can provide here, and then sign up. Very simple. So few people may be forgetting every time this username password. It's better try to provide and note these details. Because in local system, you can't work on a second account. There is a problem. That's the reason why whatever account you create, try to note down that account in your note file and save that account details. Otherwise, it won't allow you to create a new account. Even if it is created, even if you create a second account, your web ID tool may not work properly. So what you do is create a new account, remember that account details, don't forget that, save it in one separate file. Email ID you can provide whichever you want. These are the details you need to provide. This is web ID details, not backend server. Backend server connection is different. This is, we are connecting to backend. For connecting to backend, these details are required. Okay, so create new account for SAP Web ID tool. So in my case, the account is available. What I can do is I can click on sign in. Okay, what you do is go to this link. Now you need to click on create new account. First time you have to do all these things. Not every day. Just create new account and provide some account details like username, password, etc. Then click on sign up. So that's how you can create an account. After creating an account, now you need to connect to SAP Web ID tool with that account, with newly created account. So how to do that? How to connect to Web ID with a newly created account? It's very simple. Same thing you can use. Use below link. Use below link, this one. Press enter again and click on sign in this time. So here you can see, you can log in with that account details and then sign in. Now it opens SAP Web ID tool. And by default, first time you'll get this welcome page here. This is SAP Web ID homepage or welcome screen. First time you'll get this. If you want to develop application, you can shift to development workspace here. So you can see there is homepage and development workspace and settings. There are three options here. Homepage, development workspace, and I think some tool preferences. So you should land on this page first time when you install Web ID. In browser, when you use this, when you log in with that account, you will get some welcome to SAP Web ID. And whichever account is used, that account holder name will be available basically. So this is SAP Web ID homepage. Just remember that. So it's like, it's a welcome screen. So that means your Web ID tool is successfully installed. That is one of the assumptions here. If this homepage is loaded, that means Web ID tool is successfully installed in your local system. SAP Web ID homepage. Okay, just let me repeat here. Very simple. What you do is just go to your Orion file, double click this, just minimize this. After minimizing, just go to Google Chrome and type this localhost 8080 webid/index.html. The account is already created now. Just you can click on sign in here. This first option. And provide your account details here. This is SAP Web ID details. Please remember that. And then sign in. Then it loads SAP Web ID. And you'll get welcome page here. Now, what you need to do, you cannot straight away work with theory unless you do some configurations. But let me write one simple note here. Click on sign in. After that, let me write one note. Now it opens SAP Web ID homepage. Welcome page. So if SAP Web ID homepage is open, that means your Web ID tool is successfully installed. It is open, then we can assume that SAP Web ID tool is successfully installed. Up to now, there is no issue. That is what we can assume. Step 1, step 2, step 3 success. Then Web ID tool is opened with a home page here. So that means step 1, step 2, step 3 successful. Now we need to think about the backend connections. For establishing backend connection, what we need to do? JDK is done, Web ID is done, then account is also created. Now the next step is you have to just configure some settings in order to connect to the backend server. The first 4 steps, you have to do it only once, not every day. All these things are just one-time activity, not every day. So let us focus on this 4th step now. Configure settings in order to connect to backend server. So if you are installing Web ID from zip file, local Google Drive, then just configure only host file. You need not configure destination file. If you are installing Web ID from Google Drive, just configure only host file because service destination file is already pre-configured inside that. If you are trying to download Web ID from SAP website, then you have to configure both the files, host file and service destination file. Okay, so here let me write that. Step 4, configure settings. The purpose is to connect to SAP backend server. Server can be anything here. It can be SAP ECC or it can be S4HANA. It all depends. If you want to connect to ECC, maintain connection properties of ECC server. If you want to connect to S4HANA, maintain connection properties of S4HANA server. It doesn't matter. Theory point of view doesn't matter. Just configure the settings of that particular server by maintaining connection properties of the corresponding server. So you can connect to any server, it doesn't matter. Don't be panic here. ECC or S4HANA, doesn't matter. The same procedure you have to follow. So that means open below path in your system. So let me provide that path to you. Here you can see, you can go to C directory, Windows, drivers, okay, system32, drivers, and etc. In etc folder, there is host file here. So this is a path. C Windows system32 drivers etc. You can notice that. In your system also, the same path will be applicable. This is an operating system. Every operating system will have this path. C Windows system32 drivers etc. So open this path. Open below path. This is a path. And then copy host file. Paste host file on desktop. And then open host file with notepad option. Add below entry at the end as it is. So you need to add one entry here. That entry, let me provide. That is the entry for connecting to backend server. So here, let me take this screenshot. Is a path you need to navigate and copy this host file. There should be only one file here, and it should be a system file. It's not a text file, it's a system file. Please remember. So path for host file. So what to do is copy this file and go to desktop and paste that file here. Paste that file. After pasting the file, open that file with a notepad option here. Just open with notepad. Where is that? Okay, you can see. Right click and open with notepad. You can see here. And just click on OK here. So in this case, what you need to do is you need to add only one entry here. 122.175.13.217 ehp7.training.com. So this is going to connect to our SAP backend server. So by connecting to this server, we can consume OData services. We can develop end-to-end applications. Of course, in the coming days, we can also develop OData services from scratch level. All those things we can do it. So this is the entry you need to add in order to connect to our SAP backend server from your WebID tool. It's a remote server. Okay, let me provide that. Go to this path, copy host file, paste it on desktop, open host file with notepad option, add this entry. 122.175.13.217 ehp7.training.com. This entry must be added. After adding this entry, what you need to do, just click on save. Just click on save. It will save it as a system file. Please don't save as. Please don't click on save as. Then you'll be in trouble. If you click on save as, it will save it as a text file. Don't do that. Just click on save after adding this entry. When you click on save, it will save it as an original system file. But few people, by mistake, if you click on save as, it will save it as a text file. Then you'll be in trouble. Host file should be always a configuration file, not a text file. So don't click on save as. Instead, just click on save. Here you can see, after adding this entry, let me take this screenshot. So add this entry as it is. Don't use hashtag here. Don't use any hashtag. Just directly add this entry. So this is our IP address of our SAP backend server, and this is the server name of that backend server. We are maintaining a mapping. IP address and the server name. So what we are trying to do here technically is we are trying to maintain mapping between IP address of SAP backend server with server name. So maintain mapping for SAP backend server between IP address and the server name. That is what we are trying to do in host file. Without this, you cannot connect to backend from WebID. It's a must. And we are trying to do it inside host file. Host file entry. So try to provide as it is. Don't use hashtag, don't use space. Don't give empty space here. Don't do like that. And don't use hashtag here. Don't use special characters. Don't do that. Just add it as it is, as it appears. Because it's a configuration file, you have to follow strictly. Right. So in my case, here you can see there is file with save option and save as option. If you click on save as, it will save it as a text file. Then you'll be in trouble. Just go to file and click on save. It will save it as an original file. But if you try to click on save as, then it will load it as a text file. It will save it as a text file here. You can see that. Then you'll be in trouble. You won't connect to backend. Be careful. I'm repeating again and again because this is a common mistake most of the students will make. What you do is just go to file and save. That's it. Now after saving, what you do is copy host file from desktop and paste it in original path. Original path. What's the original path? This is original path. After saving that entry, paste it on original path. So whatever you have saved, that host file should be ultimately under this original path. Copy host file from desktop and paste on original path. So C Windows System 32 driver CTC. That's it. So that's a configuration you need to make it. Make sure that there is only one host file. And it should be configuration file. That means a system file, not the text file. Please remember. Make sure that there is only one host file and it should be a system file, but not the text file. Be careful. I'm repeating again and again. So that's the end of configuration of host file. Now, how to verify? How to verify whether connection is successful or not? So what exactly we are trying to do is we are trying to configure host file. That is enough if you are trying to download web ID from Google Drive. You need not configure service destination file. Why? Because it is already pre-configured in that zip file. You need not worry. But why we are trying to do this configuration? This is just to establish connection with backend so that we can access OData services. So let me give one simple diagram here. Why configuration is required. So there is SAP Web ID tool. And there is SAP backend server. Here, a local web ID, but ultimately we have to connect to remote server. Available remotely. The backend server can be ECC or it can be S4HANA depending upon which server IP address you have provided. Ultimately the same procedure. So here, what we are trying to do is we have to develop end-to-end applications. We have to develop end-to-end applications here by using this setup. So Web ID tool internally has to connect to backend server. The connection has to be established here. Let me put it like this. So here we have to establish connection between Web ID tool and backend server. To establish this connection, between Web ID and backend server, what you do is just configure host file. That means you need to maintain IP address and server name. That's it. And that is what we have done. So configure host file by maintaining IP address and server name. That is just to establish connection between Web ID tool and backend server. That's the purpose of configuration. Now what we can do after connection is successful, here you can connect to OData service. That means you can consume and connect to OData service here. Backend server with Web ID tool. And we can execute database operations. We can send data and we can receive data. All these things can happen if the connection is successful. So to establish connection, we have configured host file. After configuring host file, we have to consume and connect to OData service. We can execute database operations. We can send data. We can receive data. So that's the purpose of configuration. So from Web ID tool, what we do? In Web ID tool, we develop Fiori apps. We develop screens here. We develop Fiori apps. That means we develop the screens and we try to connect to OData services and we deal with database operations. So ultimately, we are trying to enable this setup by configuring host file. Very simple. To develop Fiori end-to-end apps with screens and to connect and consume OData services for database operations, to send and receive data. For all these things, host file configuration is mandatory. Now, what is the proof? So let me just save this. Save this. This is purpose of configuration of host file. So what's the proof here? Now you can verify that connection. So this is verification procedure to check the connection between SAP Web ID and SAP backend server. There's a verification procedure to check the connection between Web ID and backend server. So what you do is go to this Web ID. Now you can go to development workspace here. We are just checking the connection. We are not creating project today. From tomorrow onwards, we can create the project. We can write the code. We can understand the syntax and all those things. We try to do it from tomorrow. But today what we do is we'll try to just check the connection. Right click workspace here and create one new project from template. Okay, so here, open Google Chrome browser and use this one, the same thing. Sign in. After that, shift to development workspace folder. Just shift to development workspace just by clicking this icon. Then right click on workspace folder. Then what you do is you can select new project from templates. So right click here, new project from template. This option you have to select. Then you'll find some different templates, UI5 template, worklist template, master detail template, etc. What you do is select one of the template, for example, worklist template. Any template you can select, just we are checking the connection. So select template. For example, SAP Fiori worklist template. What's the advantage of template? What exactly template provides, that we'll discuss in the coming days. As of now, we are just checking the connection by selecting one of the template, that is worklist template. So here you can click next. Select worklist template, click next here. Okay, let me save the screenshot. Select one of the templates. This is a template selection. And click next here. Any template you can select. Now click next. Here you need to provide some project name. This is just to check the connection. For example, Fieri project. Connection with backend, something like that. So click next, provide project name. For example, that test project, whatever. Next, then what you do is here, this is the most important screen. When you click next, you will get service catalog. In service catalog, here you can see there is EH7. That is a service destination. It's a pre-configured service destination file. So now you should get this pop-up. When you get this pop-up, that means it is connecting to backend. So here, when you select service destination file, you should get a pop-up like this. Service catalog from data connection. After selecting EH7, technically it connects to backend server. EH7 connects to backend server. So EH7, it's a service destination. Pre-configured service destination. EH7 purpose is to connect to backend. Connect to SAP backend server. From SAP Web ID tool, we are trying to do it. From SAP Web ID tool, with the help of EH7, we are connecting to backend server. So if the connection is successful, you will get a pop-up here. It will ask you to provide backend system username, backend system password. That I'll send it through email. How to connect to backend, what are the details, that I'll be sending it through email. But here you should get a pop-up. When you get a pop-up, that means it is connecting to backend server. Very simple. So here, let me write that. If login pop-up window is open, then we can assume that SAP Web ID tool is connecting to backend server. If login pop-up window is open, then we can assume that SAP Web ID tool is connecting to SAP backend server. That's the assumption. If the login screen is not open, that means there is some problem in your configuration. You have to correct it. And here you need to provide backend server username and password. That I'll send it through email. So here, select service catalog. EH7. What EH7 will do? EH7 service destination. It's a service destination for connecting to SAP backend server. From SAP Web ID tool. So select EH7. Now what should happen? Here it opens login window. That is backend server login window. It will open that. So if logins window, if backend server login window is open, then we can assume that SAP Web ID tool is connecting to backend server. So That's the indication here. If backend server login window is open, then we can assume that SAP Web ID tool is connecting to SAP backend server. So that's the assumption. If you go to the next step, here you can see I can provide username, backend server username, backend server password here. I provide that backend server username password, then it has to load some list of OData services here. You can see that. The list of OData services are loaded here from the backend into Web ID tool. There can be standard services or there can be custom services. Everything will be loaded from SEGW. So okay, so that's the end of this step. This is verification. Connection verification screen. So in my case, I'm able to get it and I'm able to get OData services. So in the next session, we can consume the service, we can proceed further. But as of now, the connection is successful. That is our goal for today's session. We are able to achieve that. Now, what we do is step 5. We can start SAP Fiori end-to-end app development with OData services. So this we'll try to do it from next session. How to develop Fiori app, how to develop end-to-end app by consuming OData services, how to write the code in the front end, how to write the code in the back end, how to consume that backend OData into the front end Fiori, how to develop end-to-end app. All those things we are going to discuss in the next 30 to 35 sessions, especially Fiori point of view. But there are some common problems. Let me highlight here. So sometimes the connection may fail. Sometimes Web ID may not open properly. Orient file may not work properly. So there are some common problems which let me highlight here. So let me highlight those things. Common problems and solutions for installation of SAP Web ID. So as of now, this connection is successful. Okay, so from next session, we can create Fiori apps. We can access OData services. We can execute database operations. We can send data, receive data. All those things, we can do it now because the connection is successful. Let me save this. And here, what we have done JDK, Web ID, we have created account, configured settings, and now we are ready for Fiori app development. But what happens if setup is failed, if the connection is failed? So let me give some common problems here and the solutions. So problem 1 is extracting SAP Web ID tool may take too long to extract. Sometimes extracting Web ID zip file may take too long to extract that file. So the solution is simple. What to do is install WinRAR software in your system. From Google search, you can do that. What to do is just search for WinRAR software, and then extract our file. Then extract SAP Web ID zip file after installing WinRAR. That's it. That's the solution. If you face problem in extracting zip file, just install WinRAR software. You can search it in Google and get that WinRAR and then extract our Web ID zip file. That will solve the problem. Now, second problem is like Orion file may not start properly, or it will close immediately as soon as you start it. Orion file may not start properly. The Orion file may close automatically if on starting this file. So the solution is simple. Try to install JDK 8. If it is not working, then install JDK 7. Try like that. Very simple. Because of JDK, you may get that problem. So Orion file may not start properly. Orion file may close automatically as soon as you start. So the solution is try to install JDK 8. If it is not working, then try with JDK 7 and restart the system. Simple. So problem 3 is at a browser level. At a browser level, SAP Web ID URL may not open properly. At browser level, Web ID URL may not open Web ID screen. When you type this one, when you use this URL, it may not open that in the browser. So the solution is simple. You can try from different browsers and check. That's it. If it is not working in Google Chrome, try from Firefox, something like that. First check in Google Chrome. If it's not working, then you can try from Firefox. Basically, it should support all browsers, but in case if you face problem in Google Chrome, try with Firefox. If it is not working in both the browsers, then you have to try a different solution. Solution 2. Open SAP Web ID tool folder in C directory and open Orion configuration file. Orion file internally contains a configuration file. You have to open that file, and what you do is change port number. This is the last option you should try. Change port number. For example, you can make it 9090. Default is 8080. As I told you, default is 8080. But if you want, you can change it to 9090 and then try this. Just save. And then use below URL. Should be able to connect. So here you can see there is Orion exe file and there is Orion configuration file. In configuration file, you can change the port number 9090. If 8080 is already used by some other software in your system, then you have to change Web ID port number to 9090. In case if there is any other software which is running with same port number 8080, only in that case you change it to port number from 8080 to 9090 and just save. Then use a below URL, then you'll be able to proceed further. This is the last solution you should try. So here you can see there is C directory, Web ID folder, there is Eclipse folder, and there is Orion exe file and Orion configuration file. There are two files with the same name. One is exe file, application file, and another is configuration file. So try to open this with Notepad. Orion configuration file, open with Notepad. And you can see the default port number is 8080. Now what you can do, you can change it to 9090 in case if there is a problem. Try this only if there is a problem. So you can change it to 9090 and save it. Very simple. So open Orion configuration file, change port number to 9090, save it, then use the URL. But in URL, you should not use 8080 now because the port number is changed. So in that case, you have to use 9090. Simple. So that's the solution. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can ask me now.
Yeah. Is there any system requirement to install this?
What's your name?
My name is Manoj.
Manoj. So here, just Windows 64-bit operating system is enough. This is a common, right? So everyone is having this Windows 64-bit operating system. That's it. With good internet speed, that is enough.
Okay, that means from today onwards you can install and connect it. Am I right?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And are you going to teach installation for BAS also?
That we can't do everything on the same day, right? So we have to wait for that. First, we have to understand Web ID. After that, in the coming days, we are going to install Bash tool also. Okay. So Bash tool, that will come at later stage. If you directly install Bash tool, then 90% of the people will not attend from tomorrow, because first you need to understand this local setup. Then only this becomes easy. Okay? So we are going to do that Bash tool. That's the reason why I've written here. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, SAP Bash tool setup will be done in coming days. Course training. You need not worry. Yeah, next down.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, without this JDK, Aftab, sir, Aftab.
What's the doubt?
Doubt means without installation of JDK Web ID, there is any solution directly you can work on the through server?
No. This is the only setup we have to provide. This is the setup that is required for Fiori development. JDK is required. JDK is required. Because whether you, even if you go for Bash tool cloud setup also, in cloud setup we have to install SAP Cloud Connector locally. That SAP Cloud Connector internal uses JDK, even if you go with Bash tool. If you are using local Web ID, Web ID tool internally uses JDK here. In Cloud Bash tool setup, Cloud Connector internal uses JDK. So JDK is common now. That's the point.
And there is any option if you are going to install everything, maybe you are stuck somewhere, so someone will assist regarding this one?
You can just send a screenshot of that problem to my WhatsApp number, then I'll be able to give the solution.
Oh.
If any issues while installing or practicing, you can just send some screenshot of that error. Then you can send it through WhatsApp, then I can solve it. So this is a WhatsApp number. In case if you face problem, you can just ping it here. Try to check and try to provide some alternative solution. So this is a WhatsApp number, 96189730044. Any issues while installing or practicing? Yeah. Then next down. Okay, let me clarify one point. JDK is mandatory here. JDK, you can't bypass that. It's mandatory for both SAP Web ID local setup as well as SAP Bash tool cloud setup. It's required both. In both the setups, it's required.
And regarding account setup and all, we can create our own user ID.
Yes, you can create. Who is that?
Yeah.
Yes, we can create any account name. You need not give the same account which I'm using. Yes, you can create your own account for Web ID. But if you want to connect to backend, for connecting to backend, that details I'm going to send it through email. Okay. For connecting to backend server, here you can see when you right click, when you create project from templates, it is asking you to provide some project name, service catalog, EH7. Now EH7 connects to backend server. Here you are getting list of OData services. First time it will ask you to provide the backend server login details. Those details are different. Web ID details are different. Web ID details you can create by creating your own account. But connecting to backend, we are going to provide those details at later point of time.
Okay.
So please remember, SAP Web ID account details can be created on your own. But SAP backend server details I'm going to provide in the later stage. Backend details will not change, but Web ID details you can create. You can have your own account, X account, Y account, Z account that you can create. Well, connecting to backend, then those details must be backend server here. Okay, let me reload, then you will get more clarity. Because there will be some confusion. Let me clarify now itself. So I'm trying to reload Web ID. So what is happening here? When you try to use this, here, this is a Web ID account. When you click on sign in, here we are providing Web ID account, username and password. This is not backend server. This is Web ID account. This account can be anything of your own. But after connecting to Web ID, you have to connect to backend also. That backend details I'm going to provide. Backend details are required when you create project from template here. Work list template here. Select EH7. Now you can see it is opening a pop-up window here. Here you have to provide SAP backend server username. Those details I'm going to provide through email. Here you have to provide backend server password. Getting my point? So Web ID details, backend server details are different. Please remember. So in this case, I'm providing backend connection details. So if the backend connection is successful, then it has to load list of OData services. It may take some time to load that. Okay, you can see the connection is successful for backend also, EH7. So you are able to get list of services. Okay. So the point here is SAP Web ID accounts and SAP backend server account. It's different. Please remember that. Yeah, next doubt. Any other doubt? If you have any doubt, you can unmute and you can speak.
Jitendra.
Yeah, who is this?
This is Jitendra.
Yeah, what's the doubt?
So yeah, if I have multiple systems, so then the host name and ID can be configured in the local.
Yes.
Multiple.
Yes. So here, assume that if you want to connect to multiple systems, that is your doubt, right? So if you want to connect to multiple backend servers, for example, one is ECC, another is S4HANA. Assume like that. There are two different servers. Then what you need to do in host file, you have to maintain IP address and server name of ECC. And in the next line, you can maintain IP address and server name of S4HANA. So in host file, there should be two entries in that case. That is one thing you need to do. If there are multiple servers from Web ID, I want to connect to multiple systems. Then in host file, maintain IP address, server name of ECC, maintain IP address and server name of S4HANA, something like that. And in service destination file, in SAP Web ID, you have to maintain 2 service destinations. In Web ID, you have to maintain 2 service destination files. For example, EX7 for connecting to ECC, and for example, FIO for connecting to S4HANA, something like this. So you have to create 2 service destinations. Service destination 1, destination 2. So for each backend server, there will be separate service destination. So service destinations will be available here. You can see, if you go to Web ID, Eclipse, there is Orient file, but you should go to configuration master. In configuration master, service destinations, here you can see, you can maintain a number of service destinations. If you want to connect to 2 servers, then there should be 2 service destination files. So one is having EH7 connecting to ECC server. It contains this one, ehp7.training.com, port number 8007. So this is going to connect to one of the server. And there is another one, FIO. So for each system, there should be a separate service destination file. You can see something like stfiery srvr.st.com 8000. So this is another server. So the point here is there should be 2 service destinations. If you want to connect to 2 servers, there should be 3 service destinations if you want to connect to 3 different servers from Web ID. So you can connect to any server, you can consume any service in your application, provided there are corresponding service destinations here. And multiple entries should be part of host file also. Okay, I hope you got this point. Other students also?
Yes.
Other students also, I think you need to notice this. This is very simple but important doubt. If there are multiple systems, then host file should have, there should not be 2 host files, there should be only 1 host file, but that host file should have both the entries. In Web ID, there should be 2 service destination files. Service destination 1 for ECC, service destination 2 for S4HANA, something like that. Now, if there is 3rd server, for example, CRM, 3rd server, then in host file, again, you need to maintain IP address and server name of CRM server. And in Web ID, in SAP Web ID, you have to create 3 service destinations here. 3rd service destination, for example, you can give some name, something like CRM as a service destination name. Service destination 3, that is for connecting to CRM server. So the point here is, from Web ID, you can connect to any server, but you have to follow this setup. Okay, I hope you got the point.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
next
Thank
down.
you.
But from SAP Web IDE, we can connect to only one backend server, right? We cannot.
No, you can choose anything here. Here you'll get list of service destinations from which server you want to connect. One Fiori app will basically connect to one backend server. You can select that server here because all the service destinations will be popped up here. EH7, FIO, CRM, etc. So if you maintain 3 service destinations, then 3 options will be popped up here when you select from service catalog. Okay. So at the time of project creation, you can select one of the server as per your requirement for accessing OData service from that server. Basically, please remember, we can discuss these things, but here basically one Fiori app can connect to multiple OData services. But the recommended in real time is like this. recommended one Fiori app will use one OData service. One OData service, and in that one service, maintain all database operations of that requirement. That's how we generally do in real time. Yes, we can have one app. One app can connect to multiple OData services. That is possible with this approach. But if you go to any Fiori app, if you open any Fiori app, standard app or custom app, one Fiori app basically will use one OData service. That is more than enough, because that one service can have all types of database operations. One app can use one service, and one service can have all database operations of that entire requirement. That is how we can generally do it. Yeah. One more doubt?
And training system, the IP address, whatever IP address and server name given, it is for ECC or it is for S4HANA?
It is ECC. For practice purpose, you can use it directly ECC. Fiori point of view, there won't be any change. In case of CDS, at the time of CDS, we use S4HANA. For remaining examples, we can use directly any server. For all 95% examples, we can use any server. It can be ECC or S4HANA. Okay. Only for CDS OData service, we use S4HANA. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next doubt. Okay, what to do is you can try this. You can try this entire installation in your system. If there is any problem, let me know. You can send a WhatsApp screenshot so that I can clarify. So once this is ready, then development is much simpler, very easy, because when you use a template, within short time, we can develop the Fiori app. And with less coding, we can develop the Fiori app. That's the advantage of template. If you are using templates, within less time and with easy approach, we can develop the apps. But the main point here is first you need to install WebID, and everything becomes simple. So
You'll
Yeah.
be sharing the backend related configuration, right, over the mail.
that backend not backend configuration, backend connection
Service
properties.
Yeah.
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 That I'll be sending. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Next down. Manohar, Ashtosh, Usmana, Srikant, Suraj, Abdul, any doubt? Rajesh, Praveen, Srinivas, Radhika, Krishna, any doubt?
Manohar here. So nobody is using Eclipse now to create a.
We are also not using any Eclipse. We are also not using Eclipse, right? We are going to use WebID and Bash tool.
Okay.
We use SAP WebID and SAP Bash tool. We also use the same.
Okay.
So today's procedure is for WebID, right? In the coming days, you'll also understand Bash tool also, Business Application Studio. Yeah, next down. Varsha, Sanjay, Nagaraj, any doubt? Satish, Jayakar, any doubt? Kirti, Ashraf, any doubt? Lakshman?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay.